Hello and welcome back to News and Brews from a 1964 Volkswagen Transporter. This is our version of Carpool Karaoke. I'm joined by my esteemed co-host, Tony Demakis.
Hi, how are we today?
And my buddy, Jacob Sanchez.
Road trip, baby. Road trip.
And we're going to talk today about soft skills in a hard world. So, guys, soft skills is something that is often looked down upon.
Yes.
Especially in manufacturing, right? Skilled trades in general, right? Let's not just pick on manufacturing.
No.
But
I'm good. Don't worry about me. I'm good.
Watching
I'm
you
good.
try
I'm
to
good.
get comfortable in the back of a 1964 Volkswagen is making everything for me today.
You know what I know? I know that there's no airbags back here because if you hit this thing with your chest, you are donezo.
All right, so let's
Thank God
talk
for
about
manufacturing advances.
let's talk about some soft skills, guys. And some of the challenges that we face. I did early on in my company's journey, I did a email blast out to thousands of manufacturers about the importance of soft skills and building company culture. I got some really negative responses, like everything from you liberal snowflake to soft skills don't belong in manufacturing, right?
It's a big range.
Yeah. Oh, I printed and kept a lot of them. But that launched my podcast. Those responses helped launch my podcast, right? So let's talk about, Jacob, to you in your view and as, you know, this millennial Gen Z-esque person, what does soft skills mean to you in the world of work?
I guess I'll give it an example in the trade show instance that I actually utilized with my team when we were at IMTS, when we were here at the show last night. And to me, this is, I guess, more one of empathy and understanding. I told all of the team, hey, great job today. You were all doing good, like helping each other out, bringing customers to each other, blah, blah, blah. Make sure tomorrow to keep the energy up because I know for how many people's first trade show with this? We have 3 people this is their first trade show ever, not just with IGUS, but like in the industry ever. In their life. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is awesome for you, right? Like you love being here. You're already making so many memories. Yeah. And I'm like, well, think about this for a second. No matter what happens tomorrow, no matter how many leads we get, no matter how many customers you feel like you're selling to, this can be somebody's first time at a trade show. This is their first time ever outside of their office, outside of their company. You can be their first interaction and their memory of what it's like to be in manufacturing, go to an event.
That's awesome.
And they like kind of looked at me, and a few of the guys were like shaking their heads. This is something like I've never had any of them get told before. Yeah, keep us moving. Keep us moving. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Eyes on the wheel. Eyes on the road. Eyes on the road.
All right, hold on.
I don't think that's something that we even think about at trade shows. You know what I mean? And from that perspective, it's because it's like a soft skill, having to understand. Oh, I may be affecting this person's day instead of that's just a lead.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely,
what I mean?
Absolutely. Tony,
Yes.
I don't want to age you or sound ageist, but you are a different age than our friend Jacob here.
I am. Yeah. I have
So-
way more gray hair.
You guys look like the same gray.
Yeah, it's weird. Tony, talk to us about your view on soft skills in the workplace and the importance that they've played in your career, not just in manufacturing, because you were a latecomer into the industry. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I've seen it in a bunch of different shapes and sizes. And, you know, in my previous careers, I worked with people that did not have those soft skills, right? Like having overhead lights on bothers me when I'm working on a computer. It gives me a headache. I tried communicating that to my boss one time, and his response was, I don't care. I'm the boss. Put the lights on. I want them on. He didn't work in the space. He wasn't concerned about how it made me feel or even the physical effects it was having on my ability to work. He just said, I'm the boss. I want the lights on. Put the lights on. To me, that's not listening to your team or even filling in those needs that they have, right?
Yeah.
We had to put a rule in place at work that said there's no reason to ever yell at anybody, right? You need to, some things are going to go wrong. And you explain them in a way that helps for growth, not for beating people up and breaking them down.
Yeah.
You know, there's a saying that says, you know, you shouldn't let anything come out of your mouth that's going to break people down. Only speak things that are going to bring encouragement and help to grow people and profit them when they listen to you.
Yeah.
And I think that goes with manufacturing. It goes with all levels of workforce.
Yeah. I love it. I love it, guys. Jacob, you brought up empathy, and empathy to me powers the world, powers humanity, powers the way that we look at each other, but it's often misunderstood and not recognized for what it is.
Yeah.
What is one way that you have intentionally chosen to live your life in an empathetic way?
I guess one way is understanding what it's not, and being empathetic is not being emotional. Like, just because you're empathetic doesn't mean you are this emotional person, which is what I think people think. They think, oh, if I'm empathetic, that means I have to cry when you cry. I have to be sad because it's like, no. Having empathy is more so to me about understanding.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, I just try to understand people more.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to understand them to a sense of completion, but it just means you're understanding them as a person. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like that's what it means to me. That's what it's kind of feeds into like what we do, especially with our customers and stuff too. When we're like trying to relate to them and stuff, it's not just like, oh, how can we make this product for the customer? It's what does the customer actually need, whether it's from us or not,
Sure.
and
Right.
can we do that for them? I think that's important.
And I think that's the mistake that people make with confusing sympathy and empathy.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, don't sympathize with me, empathize with me.
Yep.
Put yourself, can you live life through the shoes and the eyes of the person that you're working with and trying to help? That's that difference, right? And as a leader, I think it's really, really important to be able to do that, right? As a leader, it's important to look at your team or the people that you're working with for who are you serving? Are you serving them well? And in the ways that they need you to serve them, not in the ways that you want to serve them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, empathy is feeling with people. Sympathy is feeling for them, right? And that power in that distinction, right? It really is wild because you can feel for somebody. You can say, oh, I feel bad for you, or which is a lot different than, Jacob, I feel with you on that one. I mean, just that common distinction is pretty wild. And so I appreciate that. You brought up active listening, which is one of my favorite topics, right? I love active listening. Active listening is something that people do not often do, right? You can often see somebody like gloss over when they're when you're talking to them, and you can see their brain working in ways that you wish it wasn't.
It's hard to do from the back seat. I'm gonna tell you that. Active listening is really hard to do from the back seat.
That's why
like I gotta get up here to like be more active and like in the face of you guys. So
Jacob, talk to us about your history with active listening and something that you
This is perfect.
use to do on a daily basis or a tenet you live by on a daily basis.
Nope, I'm terrible at it. I'm giving this credit completely to, because of when I joined IGUS, I had to go through a 6-week training program. The trainer there, Adam Spat, who does stuff on LinkedIn too, and we knew each other way before then. He taught us about active listening, how much it matters for when you're talking to a customer, even at a trade show and stuff like that. Being able to listen along with them and make them feel heard and hit on things that they're saying, like, hey, you know what, you mentioned that you actually do this. I get that. Like, that's really cool. Even if it has nothing to do with the conversation, acknowledging those things. And he would test us in class all the time. And I started doing this thing, and I still do it now, where if I'm talking with somebody and I know in my head I was not active listening, I'll stop everything. I'll say, hey, excuse me, Jim, you know what? And I do this in meetings too. And I've had like CEOs and COOs or floor managers that were like, dude, I appreciate you did that.
Yeah.
I'll say, Jim, you know, I'm going to be honest with you right now, man. I wasn't active listening right now. That's my bad. What were you just saying again?
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
I didn't used to do it, and I would try to cover it up like, I would try to lie through it. But
well, you just kind of
now-
nod and go, yeah, I know what you're
Yeah.
saying. And you missed half of the
Dude.
conversation that they said because you're thinking about the next thing you have to do. You're thinking about
next thing you have
what
to
your
say.
answer is going to
Yeah.
be. I find that like if you're not listening to people actively, right, then you're thinking about you, right? So conversations are not about what you get to bring;
Yeah.
it's what the other person is
You're
saying.
just trying to lead them somewhere that
Yeah,
you want to
yeah.
go.
That's
not
like a
what-
manipulative
yeah.
conversation,
Yeah.
right?
Ding, ding, ding. I wish I could honk the horn here.
Beep, beep, beep.
Dang it.
Honk,
But
honk.
that would be, you hit the nail on the head, man. That's perfect. Guys, one of my favorite active or soft skills, my favorite, absolute favorite is accountability. It's one of my company's values. It's something that I live by, right? As we wrap up this segment, please just talk to us about accountability and what that means to you in the next 30 seconds. You each get 15 seconds.
Go.
Okay, accountability, own up for something and let people know that you're there for them. So if you tell somebody that, hey, I want you to do this, trust that I'm going to take responsibility for this if this goes wrong. Like, let them know that up front that you're going to be the one that may take a hit if something goes south.
Yep. I think it's loving people is not allowing bad things to happen and continuing bad behavior. Loving people is corrective in a loving, kind, generous way so that they have growth. So you don't just allow bad behavior, you hold people accountable, you accept responsibility, and you move forward in that way.
Nice.
I love it, guys. Accountability to me is allowing failure to happen as long as you learn from the things that fail, right?
Yeah.
And making adjustments, but owning that and living that and making sure it doesn't happen again.
I'm going to hold you accountable and say, get your eyes on the road
shoot.
so we don't crash.
All right. We're going to throw it back to Lisa. Thank you very much for joining Soft Skills in a Hard World.
This was awesome. We need some snacks in here.